decisions taken at that conference are declared unlawful and void.
It is the victory for the ANC. It's not a victory for us.
A judge who came to deliver the judgment only focused on the decision of the judges who presided over the case.
There's nothing wrong with people to go to court. Courts are part of our constitutional democracy.
So we don't need anybody's permission to appeal to go to court.
Process of rebuilding the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has to unfold, and we trust that the NEC is going to appoint a task team that is going to lead us.
This conference was approved by the NEC. This conference was presided over by the NEC. But when the legal battles began, we saw no one from the NEC.
Ask me why? Go to the NEC and ask me. I can't answer.
But it looks like we are sitting on another leadership time bomb.
The order is as follows. The 8th KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Elective Conference of the African National Congress held at Pietermaritzburg from 6 to 8 November 2015, and decisions taken at that conference are declared unlawful and void.
In the battle for provincial leadership, the gloves have certainly come off. The shock waves from a court ruling even threatening to impact the ANC at national level.
What is left now is for the National Executive Committee to come in and put together a task team so it can attend to all the branches that have problems.
September 2017. The High Court in Pietermaritzburg nullifies results of the ANC's KwaZulu-Natal elective conference in 2015. A big victory for a faction supporting ousted provincial chair and former Premier Senzo Mchunu.
The victory for the ANC, it's not a victory for us. We feel that justice has taken its course. What we've been saying all along, the court at least agrees with us. This conference was unlawful. Simple as that.
The process of rebuilding the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has to unfold, and we trust that the NEC is going to appoint a task team that is going to lead us in ensuring that the rebuilding process takes place soon.
Vryheid Councillor Lawrence Dube and 4 other ANC members representing 43 branches go to court in July 2016. The complainants cite irregularities at the elective conference to back their case.
There is no fear because we believe that we are legitimate members of the African National Congress who believes that the ANC, in order to regain its rightful place as the leader of society, it must do things in compliance with its constitution.
Evidently, the court agrees, but the judgment sparks an angry backlash from the losing structures.
Well, firstly, we've noted that the judges have delivered a judgment which was obviously not presented in some details. It was just a 5-minute court proceedings where a judge who came to deliver the judgment only focused on the decision of the judges who presided over the case.
ANC Youth League, Women's League, Veterans League and ANC regions confirm a PEC decision to launch an appeal, and they're prepared to proceed even without the National Executive's permission.
The PEC is appealing the decision, And we don't need anybody's permission. We don't need even the NEC's permission to appeal. It's the PEC. It's the PEC that's in court. Go look at the papers. The NEC is not in court. It's the chairperson of the ANC, Comrade Sifes Galala, and other PEC members. They are the ones who are in court. So we don't need anybody's permission to appeal to go to court.
The unhappy structures use the media briefing to further lash out at the winning faction.
Now, you can't run an organization like that. And in this case, that is exactly what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a case of comrades who were aggrieved by the outcomes. And then they decided then to question the process that they were part of from the beginning. That is why we believe the court or another court can arrive at a different decision. Hence our view that the PEC must appeal. Even if the conference was to rerun tomorrow, the same outcomes of 2015 will be confirmed. In fact, it will be worse. They will not even reach a threshold for that matter. You remember, some of you probably were there. They even started to reach a threshold even in that conference. This time they will not reach it. The court decision, as it stands, fails to appreciate that the provincial executive committee exercises executive powers. And the fact that it's elected by branches does not mean it is now the substructure of branches. Because that is the narrative that is now being propounded in society. That the PEC cannot do anything unless it is told by branches to do so. The ANC confers executive powers. The ANC constitution confers executive powers to the provincial executive committee. And those powers are not delegated. It's not delegated powers, unlike regions. Regions exercise delegated power from the province. The executive powers of the provincial executive committee are conferred to it by the constitution of the ANC.
The ruling is a bitter pill to swallow, and structures even slam the ANC top brass for not being supportive during the case.
This conference was presided over by the NEC. But when the legal battles began, we saw no one from the NEC to provide support. There was not even a single member of the NEC that attended the court case. There was not even a statement from the NEC that basically was making a pronouncement on behalf of the NEC in relation to this particular court case. Now, we find it very much unfair that all of a sudden, after this court judgment, they will say, no, the PEC of KwaZulu-Natal can't decide on whether to appeal or not. When actually, even on court papers, it was the applicants versus the PEC of KwaZulu-Natal. So it is really within our rights to make a determination on terms of the appeal.
The NEC had a reasonable number of members who were deployed in this conference. They were supposed to see and say something on whatever they see going wrong, because they were supposed to preside over whatever was happening in the conference. And the other thing, there was an electoral commission who was presiding over the conference.
But the discourse soon puts them on a collision course with the NEC.
Our advice yesterday and this morning to the leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal was that perhaps they should resist any temptation to ventilate the matters, which what will happen since the ruling was made yesterday, because we have not met as a national leadership with the provincial leadership of KwaZulu-Natal. And we thought it's important that we must give each other space to determine what form of action to take. I can only respond in as far as that, because, again, we don't want to add paraffin to a flame, which I think is unnecessary between the structures of the ANC. Our view is that there is agency that we must meet, and that agency, among others, will answer all sorts of questions. But the danger is that we shouldn't be talking and making conflicting statements about what needs to happen. Even before we meet, we can make determination and make pronouncement about what action to take next.
KZN ANC chairperson Sihle Zikalala defeated Senzo Mchunu in the 2015 elective conference. Now, the High Court ruling has left the Zikalala leadership in limbo.
I think the ANC has been thrown in limbo insofar as where to from here. You can't have the biggest province of the movement, being KZN, having this uncertainty over its own leadership. So I think where we are now, we need to get finality on who has the final say in terms of appealing this judgment. The Provincial Executive Committee has communicated its stance that it wishes to appeal.
How does a provincial conference come to legal blows? Several likely factors inform the judgment. Voting took place despite non-resolution of the dispute over the final audit of delegates. ANC Secretary-General Gwede Mantashe signed off on an imperfect audit report. No adequate opportunity for branches excluded from the voting process to appeal. Defendants couldn't produce the voters' roll to substantiate their case. The minimum 70% quorum rule for the elective conference was not met. With the blame game on, the ANC Secretary-General's role in the debacle is highlighted.
This whole judgment, if you have uncertainty in KZN, and in as much as SG will say, no, it's a conference of branches, it doesn't matter necessarily the status of the PEC because they make up a small delegation. No, well, it's not true. Provinces lead their delegations. Secretaries are important in the credentials process. So if you have a task team, you have a structure that actually doesn't have constitutional powers, which would then mean that the process of KZN would be led from Luthuli House. Given the tightly contested leadership battle, it is undesirable for the office of the SG to be seen as remote controlling KZN, the biggest constituency, when he seems to have a preferred candidate in the leadership race.
The key operations person being the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, during the trial when this matter was before court, one would have expected that there should have been some level of scenario planning, and those various scenarios should have now been enacted. So we are seeing that there is an absence of rules, procedures, and guidelines on what to do when you are faced with a situation such as currently is the case.
The question now is, why did the Mchunu faction approach the courts instead of party structures in the first place?
It's a matter of processes. If administrative processes are fraudulent and are being manipulated, people will always have issues about that. In fact, we did not just run to court. We exhausted all the available avenues within the African National Congress in terms of the hierarchy of the organization, and nobody took us serious, and we therefore sought a refuge at the courts.
There's nothing wrong with people to go to court. Courts are part of our constitutional democracy. The question we should always ask, why would people live if we don't have sufficient internal mechanism internally for dispute resolution, for people to leave and go to court for recourse? And therefore, if people do so, it means there's something wrong with us, whether it's gatekeeping or we don't pay enough attention to appeals and so on, or we don't adhere to guidelines or the constitution of the ANC. We must not create foundation or grounds for people to go to court. And therefore, every time people go to court, among others, we try to create sufficient mechanism internally of conflict or appeal resolution, or people who are unhappy, but there must be sufficient resolution internally so that you close space for people to go to court.
The factions in the ANC continue to grow stronger and stronger. The splits demand that an ANC leader be chosen by the courts. It's also very easy for us to cry judicial overreach. But we must also remember that this matter was taken to court by the ANC. It was an ANC leader who took another ANC leader to court, demanding that the results of that election were unfair. So for that matter, the court had no decision but to rule.
There was an overreach of cadres going to court. Don't go to court to solve political problems. One is what the backlash is. But two, the court is overreaching by deciding political problems. I don't think that's the case. The court is not deciding the outcome of an elective conference. The court is adjudicating on the administrative process. And I think administrative processes, to be fair, well, for democracy to be meaningful, administrative processes need to be fair. That's just how the electorate system works. And I think if there were irregularities in the administrative process, it's okay to run to the court.
More importantly, the failed conference will need to be reconvened. Just one of the burning issues on the agenda as the KZN structures finally meet with Luthuli House.
In our view, that's a matter that cannot just be settled at the level of the High Court. It requires us to go to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and the ANC Provincial Executive Committee want to appeal to all our members, both those who support the current leadership and those who do not support the current leadership, to accept that the processes are not yet completed, to conduct themselves in a manner that is befitting to those who are members of the African National Congress, and to wait until the Provincial Executive Committee, in consultation with the National Executive Committee of the ANC, determines how we must move forward to handle this issue. But as a PEC, we are ready and prepared to take the matter to the Supreme Court of Appeal. But if the National Executive Committee were to say no, go back to the Provincial Conference again, we're quite ready and prepared to do that, whether tomorrow, next week, or next year. It's something that we're not worried about.
Until the appeal process is exhausted, the PEC is in power. So legally, what we have just been told is incorrect. What is important, and I really want to make a call to all the parties that are involved here, is that we should try and find a political solution rather than trying to stick to this legal and court action. And while we do this, while we try to find a political solution, it is very important that everyone, including those who today benefited from this court ruling, have to commit themselves to participate in a process that will lead to the ANC being placed first, to work for peace, and to make sure that the African National Congress will come out of this united. That is the essential issue, and that is why I've called consistently that we need to make use of a political process.
The court decision comes just months ahead of the ANC's elective conference in December 2017, with two major camps supporting the leading candidates. KwaZulu-Natal could well prove to be the deciding factor.
We are about to undertake branch-level meetings towards the conference in December, and we want that process to be clean, to be free of any manipulation, so that the outcome of the December conference is untainted by manipulations, as it has been the case today.
This court case has been important for the Mkhunu camp to keep them, one, in the news, but secondly, to continuously mobilize this constituency, and it gives Mkhunu himself a bargaining chip when it comes to national office bearer negotiation.
The court judgment is a setback for the Zikalala camp, which supports ANC-NEC member Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Perhaps sensing victory, the Mkhunu camp had already been busy drumming up support for its preferred candidate, Cyril Ramaphosa. A fact not lost on their rivals.
The reality of the matter is that the matter that is before courts is because Senzo Mkhunu took the ANC to court. All other former chairpersons who came before him, as well as other comrades who contested and did not win, never took ANC to court. Why now that when Senzo is defeated, is taking the ANC to court?
Including the former chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. These comrades are contesting national conference. If you can see the former chair of the province, Comrade Senzo Mkhunu, he's up and down the entire country, addressing chairs in Limpopo and addressing chairs in the Free State. So this court case is not about the provincial conference, it's about the national conference. But what we want to say to them, hey, they must think again. The PEC is not voting in the national conference. It is the branches. These regions are still intact. We are on the ground, just above the grass. That's where we are. We know our story. We are on top of issues in this province.
While the losing faction downplays the possible impact on the succession race.
If they think this thing is going to destabilize our resolve of on Mama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, they must think again. So there's no turning back. December, we are coming as branches of KwaZulu-Natal.
The big question is, what happens now? Can there still be unity between rivals?
If we want to unite this country, we've got to be united as the African National Congress within the organization. And therefore, it is extremely important that we submit ourselves as individual members of the ANC and within structures of the ANC to this fundamental principle of the organization.
And we want to start by emphasizing that there is no one who won, but it is only the ANC. And therefore, we must all of us unite behind the African National Congress.
We don't subscribe to the notion that the ANC must hit a rock bottom. In other words, the ANC must die for the new ANC to emerge. Out of the carcass of a dead ANC, a new ANC shall emerge. We know that there are people who believe biblically that there is life after death, but that cannot be extended to a political organization. That the ANC must die because it will resurrect on the third day. We must do everything we can to make sure that the ANC does not die.
This PC has been on a path of uniting the movement, and consistently we have been rejected in that particular test. And the applicants and their funders were clear. There is no unity until the court judgment. And now they say, no, we welcome the court judgment. Let's focus on unity. Unity on the terms of factions can be in the benefit of the ANC. Because they want us to unite on factional terms, not on the basis of principle.
The contest for control must also be seen in light of ongoing political killings in the province. While one hand extends an olive branch, could the other be clutching a dagger?
We are meeting with the provincial leadership of KwaZulu-Natal to discuss the ruling of Maritzburg. At the same time, we'll convene the meeting of the National Executive Committee soon. Of course, the issues of escalation of political killings in KwaZulu-Natal is something different, which we have always condemned. And I think law enforcement agencies working with other social partners must do everything in their power to make sure that we deal with that situation. It should not escalate further.
This is also happening in a time when KZN is very fractured. It is happening in a time and a season where there's a lot of killings in KZN, particularly within ANC comrades. This comes in a time just weeks ahead of the ANC's elective conference. And you do know that KZN is a key player in the ANC's elective process. So I think this is not just a blow for the ANC in KZN, it's a blow for the ANC holistically.
To go and discuss a matter of leadership decision. And here it's a first of its own kind decision that says the current leadership of the ANC is an irregular, illegitimate leadership, and must actually sit down, and they must call for a new re-election as the process by which the court has decided. This is going to cause a lot of other ructions. Remember, KwaZulu-Natal is a politically unstable environment when it comes to interest of various groupings. So you're having now one group that has won the particular case. The current sitting of the group that is doing all the key work right now is the group that is currently the one that has been dominating the political space for the last 2 years. So you're not going to have an easy process by which it will be an accepted decision as such. There will be a contestation.
The current leadership will likely stay in office until completion of the appeals process. Now, it remains to be seen if fresh KZN elections will actually be held before the ANC's National Elective Conference, bringing much-needed stability to the province and leadership of the mother body itself.
We have seen elections come and go, the local government elections, but it looks like we are sitting on another leadership time bomb, where it could further see the ANC splitting apart worse than before.